Welcome to the Road to Recovery. I'm Karlo with ESPN Los Angeles. Always proud to be joined by Dr. Alan Beyer of the Hoag Orthopedic Institute. Dr. Beyer, happy holidays. It's that time of the year.
It certainly is. It's a great time for sports. College football playoffs and conference championships winding up now. Some clarity coming in the NFL as to who we're probably going to see come the playoffs in the NFL. NBA's in full swing. So there's plenty of NHL, plenty of stuff going on.
Honestly, Dr. Beyer, as a Dodger fan, I'm still buzzing about the World Series. And we got some news this week. Freddie Freeman got ankle surgery, and fortunately, he'll be ready for spring training. But Dr. B, take me through Freddie Freeman's ankle surgery and procedure.
Well, Freddie had been plagued for a number of months with this ankle problem. Didn't seem to slow him down very much come playoff time. But he had chronic sprains of his ankle. Players of his caliber who've been playing for a number of years will always develop a little bit of degenerative disease in a chronically sprained ankle. You'll get little loose bodies of cartilage and bone that kind of chip off when the ankle is severely inverted or everted. And clearly, he had these floating around in the joint. And once the opportunity came when the season was over and the parade was over, it was clearly time to, well, let's see if we can make things a little better. So he's good to go on all cylinders come spring training.
Now, if we take a step back, I know Freddie sprained his ankle final week of the regular season. I remember that running into first base and fell backwards. Now, Freddie said he was surprised that he actually had to have surgery. He didn't think it was as bad as what it was. And even Chelsea Freeman, his wife, shared on Instagram that the embodiments, the loose bodies, were as large as a nail bed. Does the size even matter when it comes to that kind of recovery?
Well, no, it doesn't matter in terms of the recovery. It does matter in terms of the amount of symptoms that he was having from the loose bodies before they did the surgical procedure. A significant ankle sprain is very, very often accompanied by small pieces of bone and cartilage chipping off. Usually the talus bone, which is the lower bone of the ankle joint, and these float around in the joint. In the average person who's doing day-to-day activities, they don't bother much. But clearly, a player of this caliber playing at this level, who's running and pounding on the ankle repeatedly in a high capacity way, those loose bodies can cause pain, can cause swelling, and can cause less than optimal performance. So I think that the timing was perfect. You've got a break of 3 months. It's not like somebody having surgery right before the season starts. And I think he'll have plenty of months to rehabilitate. It's a relatively straightforward rehabilitation. It really, really is. It's not accompanied by a period of immobilization. He can move the ankle right away, so he shouldn't lose muscle mass. And he'll be able to start his rehabilitation. He's probably already started his rehabilitation and should be ready to go by February when they start setting up spring training.
As we saw in the picture this week, Freddie has a huge boot on his right foot, elevated on a little scooter that'll get him through the holidays. I'm sure his kids are going to have fun scooting him around during the holidays. But you mentioned optimal performance. He only had one of the most legendary World Series performances, obviously, that World Series Game One Grand Slam that will be forever etched in baseball fans' minds. But what's even more incredible that Freddie did this with bad ankle and a rib injury. Like we got word after the World Series that Freddie was suffering from a rib cartilage injury.
To me, actually, that surprises me more that he was able to produce the way he was at the bat than the ankle injury. The ankle was his right ankle, so it's not the foot that he's shifting his weight onto when he's batting. The rib injury is clearly aggravated by the twisting of the batting motion. And let's not forget the home runs that he had in his previous appearance in the World Series with Atlanta. So he set a record for how many games in a row he hit home runs in World Series performance. It was truly a legendary performance. It was one for the record books that I don't know that'll ever be matched. And I think that it came at a great time for LA. I mean, the Dodgers dominated all season. There was questions about their pitching, but their offense certainly came through, and the Yankees' offense didn't show up, and that was the story.
Yeah, again, going back into Freddie's rib injury, I'm reading Jeff Passan's article, and he felt a jolt through his body on a swing just during a live batting practice session, and had to go in for an X-ray, and instead went for an MRI. Broken costal cartilage in the sixth rib. I mean, that's your core. That's so vital for any batter.
Well, and that's right where your chest wall muscles insert onto the ribs. So clearly that's pulled any single time that you swing the bat. It's really, and doctors are a lot more cautious about injecting this kind of injury because there's a significant risk of a pneumothorax where the needle accidentally punctures the lung. We've seen that happen certainly
Tyrod
before with
Taylor.
certain San Diego or LA Charger quarterbacks. We won't talk about the details. Um, but I think that he certainly came through and probably bounded up a little bit, and I'm sure he felt a little something every time he was making contact with the ball or even swinging and missing. But he was able to muscle on through, and that just goes to what kind of player he is. I think that I gained a tremendous amount of respect this season for Freddie Freeman, the way he responded when his son got sick over the summer, had a disease that we call Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a neurological, virally related illness, where he actually had to be on a ventilator for a little while. And Freddie left the team to be with his boy and really showed what kind of family man he is and was there. And knock wood, his son got better and is still getting better. And he just truly showed where his head and his heart truly are. So I think that this is a great player. This is a player who should be emulated by young players everywhere in terms of his whole attitude towards everything, not just the game of baseball. And that needs to be shouted out.
Yeah, I remember very vividly one of the greatest moments in the regular season. Bryce Harper, I think it was, he got to first base and gave Freddie a huge hug after his return from Max's time in the hospital. But you talk about it, Freddie Freeman's mental strength, his physical strength, obviously, with his performance in the World Series. You can't help but to be a fan of it and to see how he was rewarded with a World Series MVP and a championship.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes the good really goes to the people that deserve it.
Absolutely. Dr. Beyer, thank you very much for joining me to celebrate Freddie Freeman's year, as surprising as it was, with an ankle injury, a rib injury, and now a World Series MVP and ring. Dr. B, thanks for joining us on the Road to Recovery presented by Hoag Orthopedic Institute.
Thanks for having me. And remember, Doctor the Dugout, 12 noon every Saturday still goes on, even though the baseball season is over. Our special guest this week will actually be Jillian Michaels. We're going to tackle a lot of really great issues like the whole RFK, food additives and food preservatives in terms of health. We're getting political this week. Then we're going to talk about biological males playing against women in sports. Jillian is a big proponent of the sanctioning bodies, the governing bodies of sports, taking a stand on this, and we're going to discuss that in detail also. So tune in. Should be a great show this Saturday.